Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Titus, and in this video I want to talk about a topic that can either be something that's taboo, often not talked about. If you are someone who has experienced this, I want to tell you that you are not alone. I can truly empathize for you because I have been on the other side and even on the side of perhaps ghosting as well. But just understand this. No matter what it is that you're feeling right now, I know that it can feel really confusing. It can often feel really frustrating, and even sometimes you just don't know how to process it. In this video, I hope that you will find it useful. The reason why I'm making this video is because I have been through it myself, and I have asked the questions that you have. And if you're resorting to looking online and asking and seeing where people's experience have led them to, I hope you guys pick up something from this, because certainly whilst I was going through this, I certainly didn't really know who to turn to. Although I've spoken to a lot of people, did a lot of reading on this, and also like yourself have been watching multiple videos as well, just to help process what it is that I'm going through and also understand what to do about it. Just to give a bit of a context, ghosting is basically, the definition of it is an intentional stopping of all communication without any explanation whatsoever. Now, the context of when this could occur is frequently more common in a romantic manner. Now, oftentimes when people are dating and then suddenly someone doesn't call up, or suddenly someone starts ignoring text messages without any explanation, and you can see that they are still pretty much alive because they're talking to other people, posting online, and doing other stuff. Stalking aside, because that's not the point of it, it's basically them still being able to function but deliberately ignoring you. Now, the other way that this is also presented is via professional way, in which an employee may suddenly not turn up after an interview after getting accepted, or an employee just suddenly walking out and then not returning to come back to work without any explanation whatsoever, and ignoring the phone call of the employer. And the last thing as well is about friendship. Now, this is probably something that I have gone through. And as weird as it sounds, if you really value your friendship, if you've got a close relationship with the person who has ghosted you, this can negatively impact your mental health and well-being. And this is basically what I had gone through. And sadly enough, even though I had left some doors open, this friend had not reached out at all, and it was really hard. It was painful. It was something that I couldn't really process properly because this is a deep friendship that had been rooted long back. And it's something that isn't really easy to process, because when you've invested so much time in the friendship, it's just really confusing to know how and why that person is able to then just cut off all communications. I've spoken to my wife about it, to some friends. I've even sought online resources to really help me process and unpack how to really manage this. It's often not that easy, so I hope to give you a bit of guidance as to why people behave this way, the impact of it to people who are being ghosted, and also how to manage this effectively. There's no one size fits all. There are some things that I might say that you may relate to. There's things that I might say that doesn't apply to you. But take everything that I talk about with a grain of salt, and know that you are not alone, and that you can get through this, and that you will heal. Okay, so let's move on. So why do people actually ghost? So one of the common reasons why people ghost is often if you unintentionally or intentionally hurt them. Okay, there are certain interactions that you may have with specific people, and if there's something that you said, something that you've done, or something where they feel as though, I don't really feel safe with this person anymore, therefore I'm not going to communicate with them. Intentionally, they may do that. And in the past, I admit that I have done that in the past as well. Sometimes beneficial for the person ghosting to do that. If they're hurt, that's sort of a defensive mechanism. Another reason why people ghost is also to allow themselves to have some space. Now, sometimes it's very toxic to be in a group conversation or friendship even with people who are very negative. Sometimes there are people who will put you down. Sometimes people just tend to just not have anything positive to say whatsoever. Oftentimes it's better to cut the ties off rather than allowing that conversation to loop itself over and over again without any actual resolution. And then the last one, which is really quite interesting for me because I haven't heard of it before, but apparently it's quite common in the Filipino community, is that when people borrow money and then suddenly they're not able to pay that money, they suddenly cut ties off. And sometimes you kind of care and then sometimes you kind of don't. But if it's someone close to you and then suddenly they cut off all communications, there's lots of feelings that you're gonna feel there. First of all, number one, you're gonna wonder what happened. Number two, you're probably going to start wondering where your money went if it's something that you're expecting back. Sometimes you might just not care at all. Okay, so it could be any of those that you'll feel. But certainly people respond to ghosting differently. So let's now have a look at what are the actual negative effects or effects of people who are being ghosted. I'm someone who has experienced being on the other side of it, and I can truly say that it's often really distressing. When I share this, you're probably gonna think I'm really foolish, but when you have invested into a friendship, you're gonna try to do everything to try to find an answer and even try to find a resolution. But when that person is truly just avoiding you, sometimes there's no point. I found it really confusing, which I kept repeating before. I felt somewhat guilty that maybe I have done something wrong, or maybe this person needed their time and space. So what I honestly did was I tried to reach out to the person as best as I could, calling multiple times, like lots and lots of times, messaging multiple times as well in different platforms. Also just giving that person ample time to really respond. Even in fact until this time that I'm making this video, probably more than 2 months now, still nothing. Okay, so as weird as it sounds, and I can smile about it now because I'm in that healing process. And I'll tell you guys what I did and also what might work for you guys, but I felt really just on the unknown, to the point where I honestly sought professional help from a psychologist, or a counselor rather, until eventually I just thought, you know what, I'm very resilient, I'm just gonna work through this, and I'll tell you guys what I did later on. But other negative effects also include being socially isolated, because oftentimes you kind of don't know who to talk to, what context to talk about, because often there's no definition for it, and you kind of don't know suddenly what happened, because you don't know if you open up to someone whether they would judge you. It's just a weird feeling, because sometimes you just feel as though no one can understand what you've been through because they probably haven't been through it themselves. I'm very fortunate enough that I've had a couple of friends who've actually gone through it as well, who can vouch for me and who can really relate and empathize with what I was going through. Honestly, the last 2 weeks of me getting over this particular friendship, I would call it, I would say that it's really a mental torture. Okay, it's a mental torture to be thinking about it day and night, to the point where it's so unhealthy and it's eating you up. So it's not really something that you want to really hold on to. And this is one of the things about managing it as well. And the worst part about it for the victims is that often there's no closure, because there's no explanation, no nothing, no response, nothing. For this particular experience that I'm talking about, I would say I've spoken to this friend's relative, this friend who had a common friend of mine as well. And this person is talking to both of those. So for this person to really cut me off, I know that that person doesn't value our friendship at all. But if it comes to the point where maybe this person does reach out one day, I don't know if they will, maybe it's something that can be fixed. I don't know, honestly. But now that the damage has been done, it's really hard to tell, to be honest. So we'll just see how things go. The next part of what I want to talk about now is what are some of the ways that you personally can manage this. Because obviously if it's really toxic in your mind, and me even talking about this is quite sensitive still, it's still quite fresh to my mind, and it's even really difficult to share because my purpose of really making this video is not for revenge. It's not to make people think that I'm getting back at the person, but it's more so for the people who are going through this right now. I'm making this video for you because I want you to know that there is healing that can come out of this. Okay, so let's go through some of those things that may work for you. So one of the ones that was suggested, but I didn't do, is sending one last message of closure. An apology if you want, whether you know or you don't know what you've done. So that can be in the form of a letter, which is kind of old school, but it can be in a text message or an email, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with. Obviously, if that person is avoiding you, there's no way of you making physical contact with them. So maybe sending them a text message just to send a last word apology saying, hey, you know what? Whatever I've done to you, I don't know what it is. I just want you to know that I am really, really sorry. Maybe just let them know that you're ready to move on and let go. If they're still interested to fix the problem, for them to reach out to you. This may or may not work, because oftentimes if the people is ghosting, they've probably already blocked you anyway. But at least for yourself, you've got that last bit of closure to just say, here's my last message. I'm trying to make peace with it, and I'm done. One of the ways that I was taught to deal with this, which initially was really hard to do, is just to accept it, okay? Understand that there's lots of things that is going to be out of your hands. Nothing in your capacity around this world is controlled by you. There are a lot of things that you have no control over, and sometimes the best way to really deal with that is just come into an acceptance. This is something that was really hard for me to manage because my wife has already told me, friends have already told me, lots of videos have told me about it, until eventually I had to seek professional help from a professional counselor who had mentioned, you know what? It's okay. You can accept this. This is the only way that you're able to move on. And whilst that's easy said than done, like what I'm advising you now, eventually when I came to terms with it, I had to live with the fact that this is what it is. But it's up to you how you want to heal. And once you've come to an acceptance, now the best thing to do is really just move on. And again, this is so much easier said than done. But when you're moving on from that person, avoid looking at any social media that relates to them. Common friends that may have that person, if it works for you, maybe unfollow them or unfriend them as well. Block the other people that's also close to that person. I mean, again, this is something that you might want to do just for your own sanity as well. But anything that really reminds you of the person or even relates to that person, you may want to start cutting off as well. Especially if it's something that's quite painful for you. If it's something that you feel comfortable with, and by all means go ahead and do so. But it doesn't also mean that you have to cut common ties and common friendships as well. Because it's really important that as you grow old, you understand that there are real friends, real people that you can actually go to and talk to. But if people don't really value that friendship, there's really no point in keeping that either. There will be a point in time where you're ready to talk about this, such as how I'm doing now. And I don't know if really I feel comfortable talking about it, but I would say if I was in the healing phase and process, I would probably be around in the 80% range. Wherever you are, understand that you can also talk to people about it, your trusted community. Okay, for me, I'm very fortunate that I have my men's group at church, who I'm able to open up with just a few close men to be really talking about what I'm going through, if they've been through it, and if they've experienced this before. And certainly there has been people who have experienced this. And from those people, you can gauge and understand how their journey is in healing. And for me, it took a while. What helped me get proper closure is really just coming to an acceptance and really coming to terms that this particular friendship is probably not going to continue anymore. And that's okay. Blocking that communication is something that I've also come to an acceptance with as well. Another thing as well that I've learned is that there will come a point in time where everything has passed. You're over this. And one day you'll probably meet that person again in public, somewhere, or a common party or whatever. It may well be a good opportunity to either talk about it if you want, and or totally not talk about it and just not attend the party as well. If you know that you're gonna have like common friends that will have that same person come as well. So it's really totally up to you how you manage this. But at the end of the day, just remember you need to look after yourself. And then the last thing, which is quite obvious, but when this suggestion is said, it's not necessary for people to do it, but people often advise saying it's okay, you can still find new friends. It's okay, you can build new relationships, but that's not really the point, because when you're experiencing it yourself, the investment that you've had with that friendship that you suddenly lost because of ghosting now becomes like a void. And it's not that you're trying to fill that void, but the fact of the matter is that because of all the memories that you've had, you kind of feel as though it's such a waste. But at the end of the day, you might also want to just accept that people come and go seasonally as well. And sometimes some people just tend to linger a lot longer than some people. But often there are no definites. Okay, the only definite thing is that when you get married, perhaps, if separation is not in your radar at all, like for example in the Christian community, it's not something that you would think about. It's so weird that suddenly it's turned to that, but at the core of it all, this is really part of why I want to share this as well. To share my faith, not only through my experience of the distress that I've gone through, but also how to get over that. And really, my faith is one of the strongholds that really allowed me to be resilient with my wife, and with also the benefit of having that employee assistance program that my work pays for. So there's different ways of what works and what doesn't, but I really hope that coming into the end of this video, I really hope that you found this somewhat useful. I hope that whatever you're going through, I'm praying and hoping that there will be healing. I'm praying and hoping as well that you will come into an acceptance eventually, and or that friendship or even that broken relationship to be restored one day. I hope that you guys have found that beneficial and useful. I will see you guys on the next video. Until then, goodbye and God bless.